What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to DSM Pregame Live here exclusively on DSM-Media's Philadelphia's YouTube channel. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty, my man. Happy game day as the Eagles look to get off to yet another 6-0 start on the year as they're up in North Jersey at MetLife, taking on not the New York Giants, the New York Jets, and Zach Wilson.
Yes,
lots of injuries on both sides for both teams, more specifically on the defensive side of the ball for both teams. We're going to dive into all of it, but happy game day, my man, and what's happening?
Yes, sir. Happy game day, my man. And I can't be more excited, man. I know it's just the Jets. I know it's just Zach Wilson. But the way this Eagles team plays and the guys that they got on this roster, it's always an exciting game day. Doesn't matter who the competition is. I'm looking for the Eagles to hit benchmarks that I'm looking for them to hit. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. So I'm excited, man. NFL Sunday, NFL game day, and more importantly, Eagles game day. That's what it's all about, brother.
For sure. This matchup's interesting as well, right? Because we all know how the Eagles schedule was laid out and how it starts off a little cushiony and then it gets more difficult. And we were sitting here wondering as we're going through our preseason record predictions, are they really going to start 5-0 again? Like, is that possible for back-to-back years coming off Super Bowl appearance? Will they do that? But this was supposed to be the first real test. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Now, obviously, unfortunately, 3-4 plays into New York season, Aaron Rodgers goes down, so we get Zach Wilson and the New York Jets today. So this could potentially be, I don't want to overlook them. The Eagles shouldn't overlook them, but this is potentially the last, I don't know, cushiony type of game before we get into the beef of the schedule. Miami comes to town next week. You get the Niners, the Bills, the Chiefs, Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So a lot more meat on the bone coming up soon. But nonetheless, we're going to get into keys to victory, standout stars, best bets, all that good stuff before we get to our game predictions today, man. But I do think that is one thing to keep in mind. Obviously, like I said, I'm kind of overlooking the Jets, and I don't want to. But when you're talking Zach Wilson, when you're talking 3 or 4 of their top 4 corners out, starting with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, they're also missing a key piece on their offensive line. And we all know who's playing quarterback for them and his shortcomings so far in his young career. So with that said, it's hard for me to get up and pumped and ready for this game. But nonetheless, the Eagles have to, right?
Yeah.
You can't be, this can't be a look ahead spot for Miami.
Let me ask you this to start the show, man. Is Zach Wilson better than Sam Howell? Can he be better than Sam Howell?
Can he be? He's second overall pick. I think it's in there somewhere. I think deep down there is that talent and for behind the reasoning for the second overall pick. The kid's got a rocket. The question becomes his confidence and the Jets' confidence within him. You saw them unleash him and let him extend the leash, I'd say, a little bit more last week against Kansas City. And it was a hell of a game. Well, that was 2 weeks ago against Kansas City. Then he goes in, they scored 31 points. They beat the Denver Broncos on the road. So they're getting a little more acclimated with him leading the offense. But I'll say this, basement-wise, no, Sam Howell is a much more steady quarterback than Zach Wilson is. Ceiling-wise, maybe it's in there that Zach Wilson could somehow have a day. I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that he could, right? And by all means, I do agree with you there. The thing for me is what I started thinking about as we talk about Zach Wilson was how I felt going into that matchup with Washington and Sam Howell. And I thought we should be able to shut him completely down based on his performance versus the Bills the week before. And he came out and threw for over 300 yards against us and had some very key drives. That being said, I do think the Eagles defense is getting better week to week. And I think we still will see improvements even without Darius Slay. I get it. That's a big piece missing. Jalen Carter, big piece missing. But these are your two spots when I talk about Darius Slay and Jalen Carter. These are your two spots where you have the most depth on the team in reality. The defensive line, and when I say depth for the defensive line, you have stud depth. Like there are studs behind Jalen Carter that are ready to play. And for the corner slots, for one game, Darius Slay, non-serious injury.
Bradbury's number one today.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, go head over heels because Slay's maybe taking a bye week type of game here, right? At the end of the day, the Eagles need to come out and take care of business against this Jets opponent, even with everything that we've already discussed here, not overlooking them, blah, 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 right? At the end of the day, it's not for us to not overlook them. It's for the Eagles to not overlook them. And that's the whole purpose here. And I love what you pointed out about the upcoming schedule for the Eagles, because you have a team like the Commanders mixed in the upcoming. That team just played us close at home, and that is a division rival at the end of the day. So rival division games, those are never going to be considered, I feel like, chip-in games. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, look at what Washington just did against the Chicago Bears, right? Like, that just shows you that was almost their Super Bowl, right? Like, that was their get-up game.
And that's the other side. We're going to get everybody's best shot. So, yeah, I feel you. Let's get into some keys to the game. Do you have some keys to the game for this one?
Yeah, I'll give you one on each side of the ball to start. All right. So my one for offense, when you're looking at this this injured secondary for the New York Jets, I know I'm normally banging the table for Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson to be balanced, to run the ball effectively and give DeAndre Swift the ball. Today is a day that I am trusting Jalen's arm, and I am trusting my weapons, and I'm an all-out air attack today. I'm not saying abandon the run. I'm not saying that it should be, 42 passes to whatever, to 12 runs, 13 runs, whatever the case may be. But I'm definitely probably leaning a little 65-35 today in the run ratio. No Sauce Gardner, no DJ Reed, no third corner for them as well. I'm exploiting that, man. I'm exploiting that. I trust this Eagles offensive line to hold up against the front for the Jets, and that'll allow the wide receivers and those weapons to work and get open for Jalen. I think he'll have a big day. So offensively, trust Jalen's arm, air it out. That's what I'm going with today. And then defensively, a little something that I know Sean Desai probably will not do, but we talked about Zach Wilson and what kind of day he can have versus what Sam Howell did versus this offense. I'm being physical, and I'm playing bump. I'm getting up on the line of scrimmage, man-to-man. I'm not letting those receivers get off the line of scrimmage cleanly, because the second you allow that is the second that the Jets can sit there with Nathaniel Hackett and Zach Wilson and say, okay, two-step drop, ball out. And then what happens? Picks his way down the field. And you know what comes with that, Scotty? You know what comes with easy completions? Confidence.
Yes, sir.
Don't allow that today. If you get beat by Garrett Wilson one time down the field for 40 yards, you get beat for 40 yards one play, man. But I am not allowing slant, out route by Allen Lazard and Garrett Wilson and these weapons that they have, because you won't get up and play man-to-man coverage. I'm not allowing Zach Wilson to do that today.
Yeah. No, I like both keys. I do find it interesting because I do have a key on offense completely opposite of you, and it is running the football. It's going to be interesting what the Eagles do against this defense, because coming into it, you think of Sauce Gardner, you think of that secondary, you think of their pass rush getting after it. But they're missing their top four corners in this game. All four are out. Coming into this game against a duo like Smitty and AJ, and then down the line, right? You got Goddard. You mentioned all the guys. But they are also the 29th ranked run defense. So it's like when you look at the Eagles with the number 2 rush offense.
Yeah.
You can go either route this game. So maybe it is just keeping it balanced, keeping everybody involved in the game at the end of the day. I did go with run the football and balance, but I do feel you, man. At the end of the day, if you can build the connections and build the confidence of guys like Smitty in this game, of your wide receiver 3, of Dallas Goedert, even A.J. Brown, of course, we can always use him. But building the connection from Hurts to those guys in a game like this, where you do have some disconnect in the opposing secondary, I do feel you on that. The more important thing for me with the offense, man, is the red zone. Score TDs. I want touchdowns. I don't want to see a bunch of Jake Elliott trotting out here for 3 points. Need to finish in the red zone.
I don't know if you heard or if you saw the clip from the New Heights podcast, but
I did.
Jason and Travis were talking about why Jason was kind of frustrated on the sideline, and he said the red zone. Like the red zone offense and not converting and the mistakes and coming away with field goals. And basically that the stat that Jake Elliott has more points than the Giants, which is like funny, But at the same time, why?
It's not really a good
Why
thing.
does your kicker have that many points? Because you're not
Yeah.
converting in the red zone and inside the 20-25 yard line. So I do agree with you. That's my biggest. It's not a key because I don't think it's going to be key to beating the Jets today, but it's definitely my biggest story, what I'm watching for to build upon moving forward. Like you need to start to figure that shit out, man. Like you're into week 6 now. Like you're going to be a third of the way through the season. It's time to right those wrongs and right the ship here and start punching the ball in because you're too effective within the 20s.
Yeah.
They move the ball with no problem. And then
They
it's
move the
just
ball
the balance
like no
becomes an issue. They stall out, a bad read by Jalen here and there, and boom, we're kicking a field goal or whatever. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. The run thing's interesting because it did slip my mind, obviously, that they are the 29th pass or 29th run defense. But my point, I guess, for my key to air it out and attack those corners today is with all of those guys out and Sauce and DJ Reed being out, what is now the strength of their defense, right? It's going to be that front end. And that's more so of a pass rush kind of thing than it is a run stopping kind of thing. I know that, but I'm not letting those corners off the hook today.
Yeah.
I'm attacking the shit out of them. Now, granted, if they surprise me, if they come out first 2-3 possessions of the game and they're competitive and they're bumping Smitty at the line and Jalen's not having success, well, now we have to adjust. And now I would say now Scotty's game plan comes into play, right? Now we have to figure something else out. But from the jump, I'm attacking them and seeing what they're made of today because there's no way I'm letting me and you guard A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and not throwing at us. You know what I mean?
Blow this game open. Yeah, I do feel you. I think the other thing for me, man, is just the mistakes. I think over the last few weeks, even with the wins, 5-0, right? You look back on some of these games, some of the penalties, the turnovers in the red zone, just the mishaps throughout the game that a Super Bowl contender just should not be making. And it's the difference between field goals and touchdowns in the red zone. It's the difference between, scoring points and blowing teams out. And I like we talk about all the time, it's not about style points. It's about getting the W each and every week. But at the same time, you do want to see the team complete as close to perfection as possible. And that's what I'm speaking to here. The only way this Jets team has any type of chance in this game today is if you turn the ball over or you shoot yourself in the foot with penalties and stuff like that. So don't let it happen, right? Control the controllables and everything will fall in place and everything will play out like it's supposed to in this game, man.
I think that should always be a key when you're playing a lesser talented, injured team, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're playing a team that really man to man.
Like, are they going to blow it up, man? Like you've seen some of the rumors with them, right? Like who were the McCole Hardman, Carl Lawson, and there's somebody else slipping my mind. Dalvin Cook.
Right.
The other guy
or do you go out and try to get Kirk Cousins if you're them?
Yeah,
just for this year.
Right?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but you can never allow a team like that to hang around and think they have a chance to win this game. It's what you did with Washington.
Confidence.
You started out with issues against Washington, right? Penalties, turnovers, everything like that. Slow start offensively, not converting in the red zone, and Washington got up on you early. And then what does that mean? Overtime, because you allowed them to stick around and think they could win this game.
Yep.
You don't allow that today. You don't have bad penalties. You don't put the ball on the ground. Jalen has to play a clean game. And they should be okay if that's the case, man. The last thing that I'm looking at today, it's not a key. Again, it's just kind of why I think the Eagles, should win this game pretty handily. It's so often this league comes down to quarterback play, right? Especially if you want to look at these rosters. Obviously, the Eagles have the better roster, all the injuries, everything like that. But the Jets, I would say, roster-wise, aren't too far behind the Eagles. They're a talented bunch, right? Like if they were healthy, they have a top 3 defense in the league, right? They have, Garrett Wilson, they have Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. Like they have guys. Their roster's not bad. But then you get to the quarterback position. And I mean, this is just one of those things where, when we're always looking at when Jalen goes up against the upper echelon of the league, if Jalen plays Patty, right? If Jalen plays Dak, you're looking to see how man-to-man, mano-a-mano, he goes up against those guys, right? Well, this is a game where it's kind of the polar opposite. This is a game where it's like, you can't lose to Zach Wilson. I know you're not playing defense. And I know he's not playing deep, but you can't lose this game to Zach effing Wilson is what it comes down to for me. Even if your defense is struggling, you got to go make more plays. And I know that sounds harsh and we should be blaming the defense more, but I'm looking at Jalen Hurts today and saying you have to go and punish Zach Wilson and this New York Jets team because he should not be able to hang around with you.
Yeah, don't let it be one of those 17-16 games like we saw last year in Indianapolis against the Jeff Saturday-led Colts team, right? Like, don't let one of those happen today. And I don't think it will, right? There's a lot of things that play into it, but as you mentioned, man, don't let it happen because it can. Anything can happen. These are professionals.
Right.
At the end of the day, anything can happen.
And the quarterback we keep referencing in Sam Howell. It's not Jalen's fault the defense let Sam Howell run wild, but guess what? You're not beating me. Jalen Hurts made all those plays, connecting with A.J. Brown, drives down the field, gets him in field goal range, etc. You're not beating me. So it's not his fault the defense sucked that day, but you have to go out there and respond then. So if the Eagles, for some reason, this should not happen, but if for some reason their defense is giving up, 27, 28 plus points today, well, then I need Jalen to go get me 30 plus.
I was trying to read that comment there. I'm not sure if that's like a glitch or what.
Yeah. At first I thought it was like spam, but it's Hunter. I don't know.
Whatever. I know he's just saying the birds are winning somewhere in there. Nonetheless, man, I wanted to ask you a question. So I was looking at Breece Hall's numbers here. The one that sticks out to me, he's got 387 rushing yards on 54 carries, 1 touchdown. Does have 2 fumbles on the season. That's something to keep an eye on. But 7.2 yards per carry for Breece Hall this season. Is there any chance the Jets can get the running game going? Like, do you see that with the way the Eagles defense has been playing this season? Nakobe Dean coming back, by the way.
I'm going to say no. I think that the Eagles run defense shows up today. I think today is going to look eerily similar to last week's second half and against the Bucs, right? Where they completely almost why am I drawing a blank on who we even played last week?
The Rams.
There you go. Yeah. They completely almost took away, specifically against the Bucs, the ability to run the football at all. And once you do that, then you pin your ears back and get after the lesser talented QB, right, in Baker Mayfield. I'm looking at that today. Now, obviously, Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook are a much more better duo than Rachaad White and whatever else the Bucs were throwing out there that night. But I think even without Jalen Carter, who we know is much more of a pass rushing type of defensive tackle than he is run stopping, Fletcher Cox is back today, right? Jordan Davis is out there on the field. I think that the Eagles are able to kind of stack the box a bit today, hone in on the run defense, and then make Zach Wilson one-dimensional and take the game over from there, man.
What did you think about Robert Saleh's comments? So obviously we saw the comments about stopping the brother. I think go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to bring up his other comments. You mentioned how he's played the Bills. They played the Chiefs to very close contests. Obviously, they beat the Bills. So he was saying, why can't we do that against the Eagles today? Obviously, injuries not taken into account there. But what did you think overall of Robert Saleh and his approach to this game? He brings the right attitude, right?
Yes, but I think he tried to say a very I think he tried to say something very physical and masculine in such an odd way. Like when he's talking about the tush put, the brotherly shove, and I get what he's saying. We're gonna put helmets on Jalen Hurts. In a way, we're not headhunting him, but you're not gonna want to run this play against us. Is essentially what he's trying to say. Yeah. But 11 kisses is a little bit of a weird thing to say. Like I don't know if that's riling your team up. If I'm in the locker room 11 and my head coach is like, we got to kiss him 11 times. Like Fletcher Cox was making fun of him essentially. He's like, we got to give him 11 kisses. Like I get what you're saying. We're going to dive in there, put pads on you, put helmets on you, and hopefully it's going to try to divert you from running that play. I don't want to do that again. Well, we know that's not happening. Nothing is stopping this Eagles team from running that play. So my suggestion, Robert, is somehow finding a way to keep the Eagles out of 3rd and 4th and shorts, keeping them out of 3rd and 1s, 4th and inches. Because if you don't do that, you are going to get the brotherly shove right up your ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say the last thing I'll say about the play, man, is
no, you're fine.
I know it's a talking point around the league, and I know all coaches are going to be asked about it heading into when they play the Eagles, and they're going to respond how they want to respond, and they're going to try to send a message, right? But the funniest thing to me is this team, Nick Sirianni and this team, and they don't need any ammunition, and it's not trash talk. But my point is, like, you saw Nick clearly making a point the last 2 weeks, like Jack Del Rio making the comments he made about it. And then obviously the rant, like you saw him get up on the line of scrimmage for the touchdown before halftime and how emotional he was about it.
Yeah.
You're giving them added ammunition to say, you know what? I'm going to run this play more than ever when we get into these types of scenarios, and you're not going to stop it.
Let's see what you can do about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's funny as hell, and I do agree with you. I saw Mark Henry, shout out to him over at the Gambler. He put Jalen Hurts. I think he's laying 6 units on a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown.
Yeah.
One of the best bets in the business, if I do say so myself. With the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, and I do think if they get the opportunity, because that's what it's all about. If they get to the 1 or the 2 yard line, even the 3 yard line, man, you may just see that brotherly shove. If it's within the 2, you're seeing it, and it's
100%.
gonna hurt your feelings. So I think it's funny. I've heard it again where people are calling it like ugly football or an ugly football play, but then you will go out and watch Russell Wilson throw for under 100 yards, and that's just okay. So should we just abolish bad teams too?
Well,
like if it's ugly, like if we're going off the look of the game.
Do you know what I find ugly? I find offenses, like you just mentioned Russell Wilson, but I find offenses that get into similar situations, 3rd and 1s, 4th down, 4th and inches, right?
Can't get it.
I find it ugly when teams try to get cute and get blown up. For instance, I'm watching college football yesterday, and I believe it was Florida State and Clemson, and Florida State has 4th and 1, more like 4th and half a yard, and they tried a gadget play in the shotgun, a direct snap to a running back. Well, the gaps got blown up, and he got hit for a loss of 2. I saw another play last night with Caleb Williams in USC, 3rd and 1, 3rd and half a yard, and they put Caleb Williams in shotgun, the running back to his left, and it was a read option, and he didn't even get the handoff off. Both guys got tackled with the ball in their hands. I find that ugly. So how about, like, instead of bitching about how it looks, you know what I like? First down conversions. And the simple, it makes me dumber to watch teams in 3rd and short, 4th and short situations and not do the simplest thing to pick up the first down. You're making me dumb watching this. That's what I find ugly, is the stupidity some of these play callers have to have 4th and half a yard and line up 5 yards behind the snap.
Yeah.
That's making your life
ugly,
miserable, and more difficult.
Yeah. It's not about that, man. If it's legal, it's legal. If it's legal right now, then it's a legal play.
I don't want to get riled up about it, but the QB sneak isn't in question. Is the regular QB sneak a pretty play?
So you're just going to take the pushers from behind. Is that what's going to be banned?
But to my point from last week, if you're going to do that, well, then you need to outlaw
for every scrum.
When offensive linemen come in on a running back and both sides are pushing the pile.
Yeah.
Is that that's the same thing essentially?
Same exact thing.
That needs to be outlawed moving forward then too, if you're going to do it that way.
I agree with you, man. I agree. I think all of this is just ridiculous. I listened to, once again, New Heights Pod. Shout out to Kelsey. One of the best podcasts out there.
It's awesome.
We do have to say. It's very entertaining. But he talked about it, the Giants situation, right? Guys getting injured, and that's why they're looking into it now. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, none of the Eagles have gotten injured off of it.
No data. There's no science. There's no evidence that play is a riskier play for player safety and health.
And so now are players going to start faking injuries when they play the Eagles or when they try to run
it? And not to mention, let's address another issue with the play. Hey, refs. How about you start paying attention to the defensive line on the play? Because the Rams, Greg Olsen laughed at it last week. All 6 Rams defensive linemen were lined up off sides and over the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. and still got moved back 3 to 5 yards, like into the end zone, like not past the goal line, into the end zone. Jalen's full body gets pushed and moved
it's just
into the end zone.
it is funny to me, man.
It's funny as hell,
It's
man.
comical.
Who are your offensive and defensive standouts today, man?
Let's get into that in our game predictions. Offensively, I know we normally go with skill position players, but I'm just going to go with the man today. Like it started off my keys to victory. I'm going to go with number one. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts, man. Like this is the game you've started to find your stride the last 2 weeks. You were really good late in the first half, early and the second half against Washington. You were really good last week, for the most part against the Rams. A little bit of issues, but I'm looking for Jalen Hurts to really put his foot down and put his stamp on this game today. All of those corners out for the Jets. Air the ball out. I think he has a big day. I think he throws for over 300, and I think he throws for 2 or 3 passing touchdowns as well. Defensively, I'm going to go with Jordan Davis.
Okay. I like that.
No Jalen Carter today. I'm looking at the other defensive tackle. And you mentioned is Zach Wilson going to beat you? Probably not. No. But how can this Jets team sustain drives, pick up first downs? Can they run the ball effectively against the Eagles? Well, I'm going to go to the big man in the middle, and I'm going to say, I need you to step up today.
Got to tackle today.
Everything in front of you in terms of Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. So I think Jordan Davis has a big day today. I don't know what his career high is in tackles, but I'll say just under his career high in tackles.
Yeah. Breece Hall, man, that dude, that's a tank, man. They're gonna have to tackle well today, to say the least. And I'm not saying they're gonna lose if they don't tackle well, but it'll help you a lot if you tackle Breece Hall well. Keep him
probably good. Probably a good idea, right?
That yards per carry, right? No, I'm with you. I like those picks. I was originally going to go with DeAndre Swift. I'll put that out there, but I do, as the show has gone on, I do tend to agree with you. This is a good game to build connections, build chemistry with your receiving core and your skill position guys in the pass game. We've seen, as you mentioned, Hurts take strides in the past few weeks in the passing game. We've also started to see him start to use his legs a little bit more and scramble and get out of the pocket a little bit more.
Not necessarily designed quarterback runs, but
exactly. Exactly. So I am ultimately I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert today.
All right, back weeks.
Few reasons, Dallas Goedert back-to-back weeks, man. I think they need to realize, and I heard this said somewhere else, so I don't want to take credit for it, but it just clicked in my head as well. And it may have even been you on the show. I'll be honest. I'll say it, and I'll let you let
refresh
me know.
My memory.
It was recently said that Dallas Goedert should be the go-to guy in the red zone. Like, the reason they can't score touchdowns is because they don't throw the ball to Dallas Goedert in the red zone. And I think there's something there with that. I think they need to figure that out. I think they need to target their big tight end in the red zone. I think they need to put him in scenarios where if Jalen Hurts is getting out of the pocket, that he is one of those safety valves there with his long arms and his tall frame. Yeah. I think that is the key one of the keys. I shouldn't say the key. One of the keys to the red zone offense. Also the Jets defense. They've given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends over the first 5 games of the season, or first 5 weeks, I should say, of the season. So they're prone to it, right? They're prone to giving up touchdowns to tight ends. That being said, any one of these guys could score. Yeah. So do what you will with that information, because when you're missing your top 4 corners, anybody can score. Yeah. Like you said, it could be OZ today, right? I did lay the Goddard touchdown at plus 205. I believe I did it a couple days ago. Honestly, I was just feeling it. And that's the guy I'm going with on offense. On defense, I'm going to go with Josh Sweat, but I do love your pick of Jordan Davis, especially for the run purpose. I'm going with Josh Sweat just because we've seen Jalen Carter, we've seen Hassan Reddick kind of take their turns and take their swings at the quarterback. I think Josh Sweat is that guy. We saw him last year against the Jets, I believe, or maybe it was the year before. Saw him have a big 2 to 3 sack day against the Jets. Yeah. I think, once again, a little more focus on Hassan Reddick today from the offensive line perspective. No Jalen Carter, right? They can lock in on some of the other pass rushers a little bit more. I think Josh Sweat will be able to get off. But once again, I do love the Jordan Davis pick. That's kind of outside the box there.
Yeah, no, the Dallas Goedert pick is spot on, man. And it is something, I think we've talked about. I don't think I'm the one that maybe put that point to you, but I think we definitely discussed it. And I think one of the issues, or one of the things I haven't really seen the Eagles do over the first couple of weeks that kind of attributes to their slow start in the red zone is I haven't really seen them try to utilize the middle of the field.
Yeah.
When you get inside the 15, 10-yard line, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I haven't seen Jalen try to put the ball over the middle of the field to those big kind of targets. I've either seen, fade routes to Smitty or AJ, or him rolling out to one side of the field and a couple targets over there, running the ball. Like, I don't think I've seen him line up and have crossers over the middle.
Yeah, literally.
Like, Dallas Goedert touchdown, middle of the end zone, back of the end zone, right?
Let me ask you this. After we see that first touchdown by Goddard last week, on the first drive of the game, he dominates that first drive. How do we not see it again? And trust me, I know defense make adjustments. Maybe they started focusing in on Goddard. I didn't watch the 11-on-11 film, the all-22. I didn't see all of that. So maybe that is the case, that they just started locking in on Goddard. But it almost feels like, Goddard got his touchdown. It's somebody else's turn now, right? We got to get it to AJ or whoever else. Maybe it's just AJ has the mismatch. I'm just putting it out there, really. Why don't we see another shot to Goddard in the red zone throughout the rest of the game? It worked. Like, I don't know.
Point. I think it's a fair point. I also, listen, I'm not going to complain about backup tight ends getting playing time and everything like that. But, and I know Jack Stoll, I guess, is a really good blocker and he has a role on this team. But it's just funny when you're talking about red zone struggles and big body targets and receivers and utilizing the middle of the field. Like, bro, you traded for a 6'6"
Alberto,
big bodied athletic tight end that can get his hands on the ball in Alberto from Denver. And again, I'm not trying to sit here like he's the answer to all of our problems.
The table
but
for
he's not even suiting up.
Yeah.
Why don't you suit him up? And when you get inside the 10, inside the 8-yard line, put him and Goddard on the field together on opposite sides of the line and see if you can create a mismatch somewhere in the middle of the field. I'm just saying,
I do agree.
Instead we're running Quez Watkins out there inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
What kind of target is that?
Because that was the thing with the Quez Watkins play that got blown up last week, right? Yeah. Not going inside the blocks of AJ and Smitty, but the bigger problem for me was that the ball was in Quez Watkins' hands on third down in the red zone. Why is that a choice that we're making?
Tell me we don't get smaller personnel-wise when we get inside that area. Tell me you don't see Devontae Smith, Kenneth Gainwell, Jack Stoll, and Quez Watkins on the field inside the 15-yard line.
Yeah.
Where that's where DeAndre Swift should be.
Yeah.
The more physical runner, the bigger runner. And I know, we had a thought that Kenny G was the more. No, DeAndre Swift has been a very physical runner for the Eagles. Yeah. Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown. This is where those guys need to be utilized. Yeah. No offense to Smitty and Quez.
Bro, oh my God. You'll see, inside the 10-yard line, you'll see them line up with just Smitty out on the field.
I can't stand
I don't understand.
I agree with you. I cannot stand it, dude. They do it all over the field, but more specifically when you do it all over that area of the field. Oh, dear. And I'll tell you what.
After AJ beats his man on slants all game.
It's one of two plays. That's the most frustrating part. It's either a run, and it's about to be a run, or it's a wide receiver screen to Smitty. The worst play in the Eagles playbook.
Smitty is not a screen wide receiver. He's not that guy.
There is no misdirection. You know what they need to do? They need some misdirection with it. If you're going to go to that formation where Smitty's out wide, maybe you have two tight ends on the left and a running. Instead, maybe drop back, fake the wide receiver screen, and turn around, throw a tight end slip screen or something like that. I don't throw a different wrinkle in the set, man.
I'm even just thinking on the third down play, if you wanted to run the screen to Quez, stop. Don't do that. If you want to run a screen and you even want to do it to Smitty, you can do that. But let's put Goddard out there and AJ Brown out there. And then you can pick between those three to catch the ball and go for it on third down. These are the things that I'm looking at where it's it feels like it's obvious to me. Feels like it's obvious.
The personnel usage has been crazy.
Jack Stoll, a great blocker. Put him in on the screenplay. Let him block on the line with the line and move Goddard outside. Whatever you need to do, figure out this red zone stuff because that's what we're talking about here. It's frustrating. I want to see touchdowns at the end of the day. Do you got a score prediction, my man?
Yeah, man. So I think that the Eagles win today. I think they get out to another 6-0 start to their season.
Yes,
I think that the offense moves today. I know that we came into the year very high on the Jets. I know we've seen them play very well against the Bills and the Chiefs, as Robert Saleh said. Like you said, I don't think he was accounting for his top 4 safeties to be out. That's just absurd to me. They're the 29th ranked run defense, like you alluded to. If the Eagles have an issue on offense today, we have bigger concerns moving forward. And the 6-0 start might not mean as much, because I'm being serious, man. This should not be an ugly offensive day for the Birds. I think that the Eagles will put up over 30. I think they will put up, I'm going to go with 33. And I think that their defense shows up today. I'll go 33-20. Eagles win.
I love it. I love it. As you were talking through, it brought a point to my mind, because we haven't mentioned Quinnen Williams throughout this show. And I wanted to give him the respect that he deserves, right? As one of the best defensive tackles in the league, top 5 for sure, in Quinnen Williams. As I was thinking through it, once again, no excuses to let Quinnen Williams be a game breaker today after what we just saw them do to Aaron Donald, right? He erased Aaron Donald. They can do that 100%. With a backup right guard. 100%. So there's no excuses today against this Jets team. There's no excuses offensively, even more specifically. I'm interested to see how the defense answers, because I do feel like this, once again, now they did dominate in the second half of that Rams game last week. First half is really sketchy.
Yeah.
I would like to see a full game performance from this defense. Come out strong. 3-and-out first Jets series, right? This is Zach Wilson, my man. Like, 3-and-out first series. Sacks. I want to see sacks. I want to see turnovers. I want to see the defense look like a good defense to balance out with this great offense and move forward. Because when you really look at it, man, the only hiccups you could have in this game, like, in reality, barring injuries on the Eagles side, right, is if this defense comes out and does not play up to par again. That is the one way that the Jets, I'm not even going to say they can win the game. That's one way the Jets can stay in this game. I think the defense does come out and answer the call once again, but in a bigger fashion, as well as the offense. I'm going with a similar score as far as the Eagles. I went with 34. Hold that Jets team to 10 points, man. Hold them to 10 points, a field goal and a touchdown. We should be better than the Chiefs defense. We should be better than all of these other defenses that we have seen this Jets team go against. And to that point, I want to see the Eagles be better today as we go. We are starting the gauntlet next week.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are in town, right? Kelly Green night. We get the Miami Dolphins, red hot offense. We need to show and build some confidence.
No, it's a great point, because this has all of the ingredients to be a complete game. This has all the ingredients to be a 60-minute, all 3 phases, both sides of the ball type of dominant performance. And if it's not, we're not going to come on here tomorrow on the Faithful Fanatic show and bitch and moan when the Eagles are 6-0, but I'm definitely going to have concerns one way or the other. If the offense struggles against that beat up defense, I'm going to have concerns. If our defense, albeit a little bit injured, lets Zach Wilson and company score 24, 28 plus points on them and make it a close game, I'm going to have concerns moving forward. So they have to play a clean 60-minute solid game. That's all it comes down to.
This is a style point game. We don't have style point games. This is a style point game. I'll give that to him.
Yeah. So Eagles win today, improve to 6-0, guys. That is going to wrap up this DSM pregame live Week 6 Eagles Jets edition. We will be right back at it tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. for the Faithful Fanatic show, breaking this one down, talking Phillies, Diamondbacks, NLCS, Game 1, maybe some Sixers talk mixed in. We'll get into it, man. But have a great rest of your Sunday, and go Birds.
Go Birds.